Professional little photo.
Hi.
Hey.
Hey.
Made it. Oh, man.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
And play. What are we doing?
We're about to go to the airport.
There had been so much going on that like the idea of like talking to my actors was like, when it finally happened, I was like, it's too soon. Like, how are we here already?
It's always so nerve-wracking meeting an actor for the first time, especially one who's going to be so big in the project that they're going to be living with you and they're going to be spending all day, every day with you. You really hope for someone who is like kind of flexible and game in case like, well, if things are really hard and things go really bad, like will they be able to like be on board and be part of the team and just want to like help make the project happen no matter what. And she's one of those people where you're like, thank God, like as soon as you first meet them, because you get that sense right away.
We needed someone like Annalise to make this project work because we were shooting so much in so little time. Like we really needed someone who was going to be able to nail stuff right off the bat. And she was always just like constantly like, you know, finding her light perfectly and like always getting her marks and always getting her lines right. Like, I feel like I don't even have the words to explain how impressed I was with her. This was like the first time I heard people say the words out loud.
We're gonna read the whole thing.
This was the one from this morning?
All the way through.
It's now Adam in the script.
Adam.
Oh, there he is, Mike.
Cold, my friends. Here we go. Episode 101. Now look at it. She's wearing only a light jacket, jeans, and fashionable boots.
You looking for Hammer Lake? About a half an hour drive. Not yet. I have to see my father.
Exterior motel. Isla pulls up the modest-looking motel.
The world is cold. People are cold. I can be cold.
There's one thing you need to know. Aside from you, there's no one in this world that I love more than your mother.
She's finally out of the freezing wind. She takes a beat. The cab may seem a meager shelter, but to her, in these circumstances, it's the Four Seasons.
Oh, this is so weird to watch. Like knowing at this point I had no idea how any of this was like gonna look or turn out, and now I know I know the finished product. Is that Annalise?
Yes.
Yeah, she took to that pretty quickly, didn't she?
She loved driving it. They just needed to make sure Annalise was comfortable driving the snowmobile because it obviously would be better for her to drive on her own and actually be able to film her.
Well, it was a great race. There were a lot of great contestants. I feel as though I did my best.
She was loving it so much. It was her first time on a snowmobile. So Annalise's mom tried it out at Annalise's suggestion. Marcy was like pretty game for everything as well. She was really fun.
I love having moms on set.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Seth, for the lesson.
Yep,
really appreciate it.
Give me a hug.
There you go.
Hello,
too.
Ginger.
Ginger team. Love Seth. He is such a sweet giant.
rather than like actually rehearsing, we kind of just like would talk about the character and talk about what the story was about and sort of what connections they might have to it.
It was more like a tone and like character meeting.
So I almost feel like, how would you feel about like playing this pretty here and Nathan saying your father's supposed to be very strange? With Annalise, like we were talking a lot about how Isla has a hard time figuring out who she is as a person because she doesn't have those like examples that a lot of us have. Like, so we like try to figure out ways that like we could basically relate to the character of Isla and like apply our own personal stories to hers. Like you within his grasp too, so I think you could kind of like move back a little bit or like behind the counter or something because you're afraid that he's gonna grab you and you know exactly what he's gonna do to you. I think it was really helpful, especially for me, like with any of our casts that were First Nations, like getting their perspective on the story and their input from like their own experience. There'd be parts of the script where I'd be like, does this make sense for you? Like knowing what you know to say that. I always want to like open the collaboration door. It's nice to know that like an actor will speak up if they feel like the line doesn't like feel right in their mouth and like they wish they could say something else, or if they have like an impulse that doesn't go with the blocking that you chose. The perfect Isla, the one that was like written and envisioned, that perfect person doesn't exist. Like you have to find the best person who can take the role and kind of make it their own. And so like as soon as you cast someone, you're like letting a little bit of that go and giving that creativity away to that person and letting them kind of run with it. And so, you know, Annalise was sort of like a slightly, you know, it was one version of Isla, whereas like if we went with someone else, it may have been like a different version of Isla. So we had to make sure that like Annalise's version of Isla, we were able to like alter any dialogue or, you know, costuming or whatever to like fit with her version of Isla as best as we could, instead of like, you know, just trying to fit her into
this mold. Exactly.
I'll get you to after.
Okay. I like curly hair. I remember this week was like the worst week, where I was just so, I just like lost it at one point. I lost it and then I transcended emotion and I was just like, okay, let's move on with our lives, because I was just so like, I felt so disappointed that I wasn't getting like the chance to really prepare myself. And I knew that it was like gonna affect how the show was. I just felt sad that I was already at the point in the process where I knew I could have done better.
I feel like no matter what, you were gonna feel like that.
Just starting to be quite overwhelmed by the amount of content in the scripts right now. Just worried we're not gonna have enough time to, I mean, I know we'll film it, like we'll get it done, but I'm just worried about getting it done and it also being good. So trying to figure out ways to kind of maximize the possibilities of it being good.
Watching this footage, like I feel like there's so much I wish I could like go back in time and like whisper in that girl's ear and encourage her, because I did, and I know you know this, I did get to a point where I really felt like defeated in a lot of ways, and I definitely sort of gave up at certain points on fighting for what I wanted, like fighting for what I wanted the show to have and to be, where I just started feeling like my ideas were bad or I was just like too inexperienced. And which is stupid, because I feel like I made a lot of good choices that I'm really glad I made.
I think you needed to go through all that, so you're like, I don't want to be in that same, like, emotional or mental, I don't want to be that vulnerable on the next one.
Oh my gosh, I love how you mapped out the crew path. So if they walk on undisturbed snow, it's gonna be a bad scene.
No.
It's pretty smart.
So where she should walk.
It's pretty smart.
So you compliment me when the camera's rolling.
I compliment you all the time, don't I? Ryan is great. Super great. I remember thinking when you were saying goodbye and you were like, the camera was going, I remember imagining myself in the future working on these videos and like remembering like just how I felt in that moment, which was just like so anxious, but like with a weird sense of like peace underneath all of it.
Wow. Okay, good night. You feeling okay?
I feel okay. I think I'm in denial or something, so I'm not really stressed out, but I should be.
Yeah. But you know what? Everybody's in a pretty good mood, so I think that's a good sign. Okay. You're gonna have a great day tomorrow.
I hope so.
You will.
I'm glad you'll be there.
Yeah. And I'll be like creeping over your shoulder the whole time, so it'll be great.
Great.
Bye. Have a good night.
I just can't believe it. You look so much like your mom.
Why did you kill her?
Dead wife, it has to be the husband, right?
You're my father, and I deserve to know the truth.
I don't know who killed my mom. Maybe it was my dad. I just have to know.
They started disappearing 20 years ago. They were found in the wilderness days later. 9 girls.
What happened to Mom was random. Someone was using her to get to these girls.
Go home to your uncle before you dig up something that ought to stay buried.
If your mom's death is related to the others, walk very carefully.